Good evening, everybody. So glad everybody's here. When I say that, let's see if anybody's here first. Give a minute for our viewers to trickle in. But good evening, everybody. Glad you're here. I really am. Glad you're here. Pull something up over here on this other screen here. All right, let's see. Barb Sylvie. Good evening, Barb. What's up? Not a whole lot. So glad you're here with us. Let's see here. All right, now the numbers are moving in the right direction. Good evening, everybody. I'm here. The others are tardy. Ask if they have a hall pass. That's funny. The best time of the weekend, chilling with the lawyer. Good evening, Stephen. Glad you're here. Barb Sylvie, yes. How was your week? It was good. It was busy, but it was good. I don't care how big your car is or how fancy it is or all the fancy, funky, cool things it'll do. Traveling with kids is just hard. All right. It is. Traveling with kids is just hard. Good, bad, or indifferent. It just is. Like I said, I'm not a wise man, but I can hold my own here. Sorry, my fan of my computer is just acting crazy right now. Penny Richie 8307. You guys hear that? If you guys can hear that, the fan of my MacBook is just going nuts. I mean, it's an older machine. I need to probably start working towards a new one, but that's not the point. Slop on you, I don't hear anything. Yeah, you may not. It's over here. I've got it flipped on its back right now to try and better vent the bottom, but we'll see. I said it's old. I've pushed it really hard. I tend to push all my technology really, really hard. So, anyway, yeah. At some point, I need to get a new one. I'm just not really ready to drop that kind of money right now. Because in our personal lives, we're Mac integrated, iPhones, iPads, MacBooks. So and you play DC too. Okay. I sat next to a lady traveling alone with two kids on a flight that did great, and I complimented her on that. Yeah, for whatever reason, the kids behave themselves on airplanes, but they're terrible on road trips. And so we went to see Megan's grandparents, one set of her grandparents, which is about a 3-hour drive, and then we went to see her parents, which is about a 3-hour drive, and then we stopped to see along the way home today. We stopped to see Megan's other set of grandparents. There's a whole generation there's a whole generation between for the most part between my family and Megan's family. So Megan's parents had kids young, her grandparents had her parents young. And so when we got married, in fact, when my oldest was born, Megan's great grandmother was still alive, one of her great grandmothers. Now I still have one step grandmother and one grandmother still living. The rest of mine are deceased. But when my kids fly, they do really well. We try to bookend it by either having a late in the evening flight or an early in the morning flight so that they can fly in their jammas, more comfortable. I, of course, don't fly in my jammas, although there are days I wish I could. Sorry, it's like 80 degrees in Oklahoma right now, so my allergies are acting up because The atmosphere hasn't decided that it's winter time yet. In fact, it'll be like in the high 70s tomorrow. So I just want to give you guys a quick update. We got some really cool stuff coming up. So somebody asked the other day what the first Lego build's going to be, and it'll be the Pixar lamp from the Lego Ideas collection. Specifically, it's the Lego Disney collection, and then also the Lego Idea collection. So they have sort of these different collections, and this is a crossover with Disney, which of course owns Pixar, and so anyway, this will be the first build that we do. All right. If you guys have ideas for Lego, let me know. If you guys have Lego specifically you want me to do, by all means, reach out to me. I'll give you a means to send that to me. Like I've had some folks in the past just directly order stuff and send it to me. Yes, Stephen Adams, you did ask me about it. Like so did Landon in a prior stream as well. So that'll be the first build. But if there's anything in particular you all want me to build, by all means. Best place for 50% off random Lego builds, Walgreens after Christmas. Yes, exactly. Gotcha. Gotcha on vertical and horizontal. Like them both. Got to go. Just want to check in. Thanks, Penny Richie. I know it's late. Have a good evening. Most of my streams are going to be late because of the time that I've got to get the kids to bed. So if it's late by my standards, it's definitely late by everybody else's because I get up at 0400 local time, so 4 a.m. local time for me to get my gym work in. So I go to the gym and do gymly things. Got my daughter. We got my foster daughter the mansion from Nightmare Before Christmas for $7. That's a steal. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's a good one. Yeah. There's another thing that I need to do is I need to update my Amazon list and try to throw some Lego in there for you guys as well. I just need to make sure that I'm logged in. I am good. Okay. Groovy. Even better. I'm usually up at 3 a.m. for work, so it's late. Yeah, especially for you. And then I have an unboxing video that I'm going to do. I've been desperately needing for a while now to overhaul and update my toolbox. At work, I have 2 really nice gear wrench boxes that are all tricked out with gear wrench stuff. And that's great, but those are work assets. Those are not my personal assets. So when at work, I use those, and when at home, I have my own assets. And so I am. Megan hooked me up with the not quite everything, but about 80%, 85% of what I needed to overhaul my toolbox. So once I get my toolbox clean, it's dirty. It's a toolbox, right? So once I get it clean, then I'll and ready to be loaded. I've got to get like socket rails, and I got to get wrench racks and some of these things to store stuff. But once I get all my organizational stuff ready, then I'll do an unboxing video. I don't know if I'm going to record it and then post it, or if I'm going to do it as a live stream. So if you guys have a preference for that, if you'd rather see that, if you're a tool person, whatever you want to see that live, let me know. And I'll get the haters. So it's got to be Snap-on. It's got to be Matco. It's got to be, Cornwell or whatever, or Mac. First off, I would say that, to each his own. I am not a professional wrench turner. I'm pretty handy and I build a lot of things, and fix a lot of things, but I'm not a professional wrench turner. I don't pay my bills off my mechanicking skills. If I did work in a shop full time and my job was to turn wrenches, I wouldn't mind necessarily spending that kind of money. And I have some professional grade stuff at work, because at work, when I use those tools, I have professional grade stuff in my everyday life. At home, I don't, 90% of the tools you buy will get the job done. It's, will they stand up to the wear and tear of being used, 40, 50, 60 hours a week for 20 years? For a lot of stuff, the answer is no. For some stuff, the answer is yes. For me, I don't need something that holds up 40, 50, 60 hours a week for 20 years. I need something that is going to last me 20 years and with light to moderate use. So I'll go ahead and jump ahead of all the tool snobs. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Snap-on. I'm not knocking Mac or Matco. They make great products. Snap-on probably makes more of their own than the rest of them. But a lot of them, are third-party manufacturers who stamp it with, the Mac or the Matco or the whatever logo on it. There's also some really cool players in the space right now that support career technical education, which is one of the things that's part of the space that I teach in. Oh, check out Space Snoopy. Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm a big Peanuts fan. I love the Peanuts. The late Charles Schultz. So it's my Space Snoopy shirt. Yeah, if you guys have comments, if you want me to do the tool unboxing live, I'm happy to do that. If you'd rather me just throw it up as a video, as a new release or something, I'm of course happy to do that as well. And then there were a couple of big trials that happened this summer that I stayed abreast of. One was the NASCAR trial in Charlotte, North Carolina Federal Court. If you're not familiar with that, we'll go over that at some point. A little bit more legal activity as well that we may look at if we have the time. So, actually, as we sit here and talk about the Lego build, I'm holding Legos that I found on my desk when I came in. So, if you guys have questions, ask them. Not a lot of you. I know it's late. Just want to drop in and say hi. And again, if you have ideas for videos, if you have ideas for Legos that you want me to assemble, the Saturn V was sent to me by one of you guys. You sent me the Saturn V that I built. I need to get a floating shelf right above my head here, so we can put the Lego displays on it, and go from there. It'll also help give the weird depth perception, right? Because like the walls like back here, so I don't know, maybe 3.5 feet, 3 feet, something like that, behind me. So, yeah, I need to hang a floating shelf so I can put the Lego displays on it, rotate them through. But if you guys have anything in particular, anything in particular you want me to build or ideas, like I've got a friend of mine, the best man at my wedding actually is way into Lego architecture. So Sears Tower, I think it's called the Wright Tower now, Empire State Building, Burj Khalifa, things like that. By all means, go check that out. But if you have ideas, if you have things that you want me to build, or things you want me at least look into, drop it in the comments here. Or if you're watching this on the replay, drop it in the comments. Or drop it in the chat if you're watching this live. Drop it in the comments if you're catching it on replay. In fact, I need to look and see. I'm just doing a quick Google search here, or Amazon search for some Lego stuff. Also, Thing One, my oldest, is currently working on the Lego Artemis system. If you haven't seen that, that's a big build. It's for like 18 plus, I think, or 16 plus, whatever it is. Yeah, it says ages 18 up, and I forget what the piece count is. Let me look at it here. 3,601 pieces. It's product number 10341, but it's 3,601 pieces. And Thing One's working through it. I'm just proud as can be, because Thing One is 6 years old and requires, on the Lego side, very little supervision. Let's see. All I can think of is the Batmobile, but I don't know if you're a Batman fan. Well, it's one. So kind of. I'm not this new dark. The dark Batman that came out with the Dark Knight Rises and the Heath Ledger and that whole thing and Christian Bale. I watched a couple of them. I don't like the psychology, but I grew up on the cartoon Batman, not the weird one from the 50s and 60s, the Adam West version. That one was weird, but the cartoon Batman. But the anything Lego, even if it's not a series that I'm necessarily into, I will build. Like looking here on Amazon, yeah. They've got the Batman Forever Batmobile is on there. The DC Batman, the classic, like the Cadillac style Batman with the big flares. And then the old school, they got some of the newer school ones. And then they've got the one Batman versus the Joker. That was probably my favorite. The one with the penguin, where not Joe Pesci, Danny DeVito was the penguin from the '90s. That one, that Batmobile, I guess that'd be the Val Kilmer version, maybe. That one was cool. They've also got it through Lego Technic. And the Lego Technic line's got some. So anyway, they got some, and then there's the big one, the DC Batman Batmobile Tumbler is a big one. I mean, it's pricey, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'd build the Batmobile, anything like that. Did you keep track of the Murdaugh trials or the Addison trial? Not the Addison trial, but I did keep up with the Murdaugh trials, actually. Yeah. That was just a cluster. As much as I hate to say it, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to get a new trial. And I don't think it was a very close call. This one, next one might be, because now the defense knows how the prosecution's going to paint the evidence. But there's a decent chance that he's going to get a new trial. Let's see. I'm looking for Lego Peanuts. They don't have Lego Peanuts, but they do, because they have to license it. But they do have some really cool 3D puzzles, actually. Which I don't know if you guys have seen these. I forget how to screen share on StreamYard. It's been a long time. But they've got some really cool like 3D puzzles, which I love, actually. They're like Lego, but it's just a different brand. The other thing that I do, and it's probably super duper boring, so I don't know that I would make a video of it unless you guys just are into that kind of monotony. One of the things I love to do, let's see if I can pull this up and share it with you. Yeah, here we go. Now, hold on. Give me some. See if I can screen share. What's this button say? What's that button do? Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to throw that. Yeah. So right here. And you guys can't see my mouse. Maybe you can. So these are like 3D wooden puzzles. They're really ornery. They're very, very ornery. I love doing them. They require an enormous amount of patience. And I've got probably 20 of these. Megan always gets me one for Christmas every year. I've got probably 20 of these. Some of them are small. This one that you're looking at here is about like this. They're bigger, but they're beautifully detailed. And you have to be very precise. Like if the wood gets wet, it swells. You have to have very patient hands. And this is really good for helping clear my mind. If there's something that I'm working through as part of my process, I'll often go and do something like this. So super duper cool. I'm also, you guys may not find it nearly as exciting as I do. Everybody loves Lego, myself included. So that's why I'll do anything Lego. But building these, I love building this stuff. So if this is of interest to you guys, I'll find a way to do one of those for you as well. But let's go ahead and kill that. There we go. Good. So like this kind of stuff, I love these. And that happens to be a Zeppelin or a dirigible, but it could be anything. I've got some airplanes. I've got some steampunk. I'm not into steampunk per se, but just the design is really cool. So I'm also into these, the wooden 3D models as well. Let's see. Let's see. In response to Alec Murdaugh, so nuts. Really? I hope he doesn't. I hate when us civilians muck up the legal system. From Barb Sylvie. Yeah. I'll be honest. I hope he doesn't, for the sake of the family. I hope he doesn't. Just because of, and not, I don't necessarily mean his family. Of course, there's tragedy there inherently, but the family of Mallory, the family of the people that were on the boat with the kid, with the son, when the son got liquored up and crashed him into the pier, like all that kind of stuff. I don't want those family members to have to go back through that. But also, if it was my loved one who was on trial, I want to make sure that their rights are protected. And just because I think he was that I think Alec Murdaugh is not the kind of human being I want to associate with, doesn't mean that he shouldn't have the same constitutional rights at trial that I should have or that my family member should have if something like that were to ever befall my family. Slop Onion says that's basically Lego that actually looks like, yeah. So it is Lego, or it's very much, I shouldn't say it's Lego, it's not. It's very much like Lego. It's in the vein of Lego. With the same, I will say, like my 6-year-old doesn't do these yet. Really advanced for that child. Lego is even the regular small Legos, no problem, because the instructions are very detailed. Because they actually, let's see if they've got a picture of it here. I'm trying to see if it gives you a picture of how it sits in the. Yeah, when I say detail, check this out. Look at the detail on this stuff. Okay. Okay, so I mean, you can see the detail on this, and there's another photo here that I'll show you guys. Where it actually, this particular one, I haven't seen one. I haven't built one with this in it yet, but it looks super cool. This one is actually, let me throw this to the screen here. This one's actually backlit, which is super cool. So yeah, this kind of stuff, I love doing this kind of stuff. So if you guys are into that, I'll build them too. I mean, obviously the channel's the Lego Lawyer, but I'm also into that. So there you go. Barb says, "Good grief! How do you figure out where pieces go?" So a couple of ways. One, it does come with directions, and the pieces are organized alphanumerically. So every piece is either a letter, a number, or both. Like D1, D2, D3, A6, A7, A8. Maybe there's only one C piece, so it'd be piece C, or maybe one piece 6, so it's piece 6. But what's really cool about these? There's no glue. It's all just friction hold. It's very much like old school carpentry, where they would use compound angles and complex angles to hold things together without screws, or they use dowels, or they would use complex angles to hold it with. So there was no glue, no screws, no nails. They would just use wooden mallets and precisely cut pieces to do it. So, yeah. Let's see. C Cult 6, I say what? I've seen those and think they're cool. It's not something that would clear my mind. For some people, it's not, but like for Megan, she loves to watch, I don't want to call it trash TV. She loves to watch reality TV. So The Amazing Race and Big Brother and the Kardashians, and none of that is remotely interesting to me. I couldn't care less about these people. Right? They're famous for nothing. Right? But she finds it interesting. And now Big Brother, she's watched since either high school or early college, and there's a whole group of friends and they all watch it, and there's a big group chat. It's a whole thing. But like, if we could do The Amazing Race, maybe I would be more interested in it, but I don't really care. It's really cool. Now my 6-year-old likes to watch it with mom, and there's a lot of cultural history, cultural and historical stuff in there. That's cool. That I think is important. So I'm not critical of that. It's just not something I find interesting. I, on the other hand, yesterday listened to a 3-hour podcast about the way a particular ship was constructed that led to its sinking. Nobody wants to do that but me, but I was fascinated by that kind of stuff. Still am fascinated by that kind of stuff. So what Megan does is, so when she's working through something, she'll just turn on what I call trash TV, reality TV or something, because, and to her point, she says, you don't really have to pay attention. There's no complex storyline like in a drama or a sitcom to keep up with. Like each episode is self-contained. Like there's no relationship, there's no this, there's no that. At the end of the episode, okay, I know everything there is to know to this point. But series-based television shows, Big Bang Theory, Grey's Anatomy, whatever, they're built on this timeline, right? Where they may wrap up one story and then start a new story and continue a third story all in the same episode. So you have to continue to tune in to keep track of all these people's lives, right? So So Megan likes this stuff when she's, working on her dissertation or doing homework or, picking up around the house or whatever it is she's doing. Right. She, wrapping packages for Christmas, whatever, just trying to kill time, just needing to get things done, but doesn't want just dead silence in the house. She turns on reality TV. I, on the other hand, will do this. I'll do Lego. I'll do these wooden 3D puzzles, that sort of thing. So just a difference. So I get why a lot of people would not find that relaxing. But I enjoy it. Some Slap Onion says, I feel like that'd be fun, but tedious to a point after the fact. Also, I mean, it is tedious, but that's part of what I enjoy so much about it. Like I have way back when this channel was young, I did like a 3-hour video of me building a Lego spaceman for my oldest's birthday party, like the next day. Because that's something that my oldest gets every year on their birthday is a Lego set that I have built for them. And then it's displayed in their room. That was when we were living in the apartment at the college, right? Yeah, you guys remember that the prison wall era, like that era. And I went out in the hallway and built this thing for like 3 hours and just put a wireless mic on and threw the iPad up. And you guys hung out with me like 3.5 hours while I built this thing. And just sat and shot the breeze and didn't look at the chat much. Just sort of talked about whatever I felt like talking about. Answered a few questions when I could. That one Supreme Court judge decided because Courthouse Becky didn't interfere enough to the matter. Yeah, but she's simply a civil servant. How is she not Sue Rice? Well, she's elected. The clerk of court in most states, the county clerk of court or circuit clerk of court, however their judicial system is organized, is generally an elected official. So she was elected. So ultimately, her overseers are the voters, right? That's sort of how that works. It'd be a cool backdrop for your setup. Thank you. Lincoln Logs. Let's see. Garrison Pina 3503. Hey, I'm a new subscriber. You are officially my favorite non-binary streamer. I'm not sure what you mean by non-binary. I'm very much a male, always have been, happily married to a female. So I'm not really sure what you mean by non-binary there. Let's see. What does this question? What I'm trying to figure out what the question mark means here. I don't know. I call that mindless TV. My wife loved them. I actually do love puzzles, but those are intimidating. So obviously, I didn't start with something that difficult. They range in difficulty from like intro to reasonable to what the heck is wrong with you. And I've worked up and prefer the what the heck is wrong with you, but that's certainly not where I started. But I've also been doing these things for like close to 40 years. I'm 36. I've been doing them since I was about 3 years old. Not the wooden puzzles of Lego. So I've been doing it for more than 30 years. So whether it's Lego or anything else that's in that same 3-dimensional realm, I sort of just can work through it. Own 12 of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, I know what manga is, and I know what jujutsu is, but I'm not sure if you misspelled it on purpose and it's jujutsu, or if it's something I'm unfamiliar with. Familiar with the martial art of jujutsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I know what manga or manga is, but I don't know Kaisen. I'm not terribly familiar with that. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how she could drag reports to the courthouse because she thought it was about her. She saw it as her 15 minutes of fame. She was, so if you think back to the as much as I hate to do this, if you go back to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, remember the guy who used to work for TMZ emailed or called Johnny Depp's trial team and said, "Hey, I know about this story. This is not true. This was a lie told by this witness." They called this person. Remember, Amber Heard's attorney's like, "Well, isn't this your 15 minutes of fame?" And she was like, he responded to her, Greta, I think was the attorney's name, Greta something. And the witness responds, Actually, TMZ is a very litigious organization. I'm putting myself at risk of potentially being sued civilly and exposing myself to civil liability being here today. But also, you represent this other famous person. You are likewise exposing yourself to possible liability as well. So I could say the same for you. She, of course, objects and says it's argumentative, to which the judge says, no, it's not. You asked the question. It's just like when I can't remember if it was her, if it was that attorney for her or her one of the other attorneys for her. It was the other, was the guy. He asks a question, doesn't like the answer, then objects to the answer to his own question is hearsay. And the judge said, that's not hearsay if you ask it. Right? It was like, well, you didn't know Johnny you don't know how so-and-so's how the tip of Depp's finger got cut off. He goes, yeah, I do. I heard that guy say it. Well, that is hearsay. But you can't really object to your own, like you should have objected as soon as you asked the question. Actually, I would draw that question, instruct the witness not to answer. I want to rephrase or ask a different question. You can't then ask for the answer to be stricken after you asked an improper question. But the judge will not unilaterally throw the question or strike the answer. And an attorney has to object to it. Well, Depp's attorney was like, why would I object to this? This is exactly the question I wanted to answer, but couldn't because it would have caught an objection. If this guy's dumb enough to ask it, I'm going to let him. And so she thought it was about her. It was her 15 minutes of fame. Everybody wants to be in good with the reporters because she knew she was going to write a book. She had known that for some time that she was going to write a book. And, she saw it as her opportunity to start to clear the air and tell the story. And, maybe when I announced that I'm going to write a book about this, these journalists will help me, publish my book or cover my book or whatever. Sorry, I'm still trying to off-gas the computer here. Let's see. Hang on, guys. Let me check something here. All right, let's see. Hello, this is from N_Moss5987. Hello, do you have any specific subject matter of the stream or just talking to kill time? I can't catch the matter. So, normally, yes. Tonight it was just a check-in. It was an update to the channel. Talked about some upcoming things we're doing, an unboxing video that I'm going to do. And I was asking whether or not the subscribers wanted me to do it live or wanted me to do it recorded and upload it later. And then also the next Lego build that we're doing. We primarily do two things here. I'm a lawyer by training. That's not what I do for a living, but I am a lawyer licensed to practice in multiple jurisdictions. And so I tend to address contemporary legal issues such as, the Alex Murdaugh trial or the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial or something happening in Congress, anything in the legal space. Or, and then the other thing that we do is either on Lego sets that I acquire or that viewers send to me or whatever, however I manage to acquire, either I buy it or it comes to me. I build Lego sets on here. I've been doing Lego for like 33 years, and I found that there's sort of this cultish following to it that I'm proud to be a member of. So tonight, no, it's sort of a rudderless ship, but generally there's a format to these. That's a fair question. Oh yeah, the TMZ guy also showed up at Karen Reed. I did not follow Karen Reed. Sorry, the season of my life at that point was so crazy. I just couldn't keep up with it. Karate is a martial art of weak and peaceful peasants, but jujitsu as well as judo that originates from it is a martial art pro warriors. It's not inherently true. I think all martial arts require their own skill and discipline, and not all martial arts accomplish the same thing, right? You have judo and other types of grappling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, some of these sort of things, various types of grappling martial arts. And then you have taekwondo, which is primarily a kick-based martial art, right? Where there's a lot more leg and hip and knee than there is, hands and elbows. So I think each martial art in and of itself is its own, that's what we call it, martial art. It's an art form that is, developed over thousands of years, traditionally with Asian roots, but not always true. But I don't think there's any one that's better or worse than another. I think they were each developed and evolved to fit whatever the need of the practitioner was at the time. So many of your best courtroom stories. Yeah, I should do one of those. I need to do that. Well, this is a really good question from, let's see. Don't attorneys try to ask questions they know the answer to? Yeah, an attorney should never ask a question they don't know the answer to, because if the answer comes out in a way you're not expecting, now you're trying to play catch up and it can really cause problems. A question from Kyler. Am I trans? No, but the good news is you're banned. Problem solved. Let's see. Where do you get hats that go backwards? This particular one came from your mom's closet. You're banned. Let's see what else. What's up, big dog? What's your social security number? Look in your mom's nightstand. I left it there last night. You're banned. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what question I answered for you. Yeah, he says, I'm still waiting for your video on your best courtroom stories. Yeah, I've got a few. I didn't try. I've tried it several trials, but not as many as some. What I want to do is get an interview series going where I bring on my lawyer friends who have much more trial experience and have them tell their war stories. Are all of our mods doing homework? Yeah, maybe. He says, I love your answers. Hate the trash comments. My answers to their trash comments, or just the answers on the channel specifically? Let's see. He says, well, the goal of any martial art is to harm your opponent and not let him do this to you. According to the competition in MMA and other mixed fight systems, karate guys lose more often than win. But again, it's by definition mixed martial arts, right? It's a mix of whatever various fighting styles and combat sports one chooses to learn, right? In her peak, Ronda Rousey was probably the greatest submitter to ever fight on the women's side. Then you just have these pound for pound brawlers. That they're heavyweight boxers in fingered gloves instead of these big boxing mitts. They got these finger gloves, these MMA gloves. So a karate guy, and I haven't looked at the statistics. It sounds like you're more into MMA than I am, for sure. But I think sort of by definition, like it's MMA, right? It's mixed martial arts. And so assuming your comment about karate practitioners having greater loss rates than other forms of martial art practitioner, if we assume that to be true, then, it begs the question, what did they sacrifice? What other training opportunities or disciplines did they give up to focus on karate? So if they chose to spend more time on karate than they did in grappling, or more time in karate than they did in, using kicks or close quarters, hand-to-hand, whatever it is, they made a decision that they felt like was best, and it turns out it's not. But if you put a practitioner of karate up against another practitioner of karate, now you're going best on best. Or you can compare the two. In MMA, there are some very skilled tacticians, right? They're very tough individuals, mentally and physically tough. The training and the discipline it takes to excel in that, and then to be able to take those hits and that punishment, but also to be able to master enough discipline, or as many disciplines as necessary, to a high enough level of competency that you can kick, you can box, you can kickbox, you can wrestle, you can roll BJJ style, right? You can fight and go punch for punch. You can get in the grasp, you can get in the grapple, and you can do all of those things. It requires a wide understanding of multiple disciplines. So if you just look at jujitsu, or you just look at judo, or you just look at karate, and you have these people going one-on-one, that's, I think, a different environment than the MMA. And it's not taking anything away from any of these martial arts. They all require an enormous amount of discipline, study, stamina practice to be very good at them. But I think it's hard to compare apples to apples there. Yeah, Barb, I need to go in on the backside and make you a moderator as well. Gibraltar is Spain. Well, it's not Spain. It's part of Spain. I don't necessarily know that it is Spain. I am a feminist straight man. Okay. My worst nightmare? No, my worst nightmare is something happening to my family. So I have no issues with feminist straight males. But I think your worst nightmare is what I did to your mom last night, your band. Poor people wear caps indoors. True. So do rich folks. Let's see. I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm watching your live stream. I subscribed from Dustin Nunez 5077. Well, good evening, Dustin. Glad you're here. Let's see. Avatelli. Hello. Let me ask you something. Actually, I think I missed a question above. I'll come back to that. Any advice on how to sue a person for using my likeness? So one, I don't give legal advice, and two, that's beyond an area of law where I have sufficient knowledge to answer your question with any confidence. I would Google either defamation lawyers or intellectual property lawyers in your area that are admitted to your jurisdiction and start there. Wish I could answer that question more specifically. Let me ask you something. Let's say I've gone to another country, butchered someone, returned to the U.S. Can I go to trial? FBI can investigate me for that. Depends. Lots of factors there. Depends on the country you went to. Depends on if we have extradition agreements with that country. Depends on if Interpol is involved or if it's just local police with the jurisdiction only in that country. Depends on if we have any extra or any other treaties or agreements with that country. Depends on the victim. What place or places was the victim a citizen of? What role did that victim play in society? Were they a government official? Were they just a run-of-the-mill person? Lots of factors there. Certainly the FBI might. Based on your fact pattern, I can't answer that conclusively. There are multiple scenarios in which, yes, the FBI could come get you and you could be tried under by the Department of Justice on behalf of another country. There are times in which the FBI would say, sorry, that's not something we can help you with. And then sometimes the FBI and the U.S. Marshals will work to arrest or secure the custody of a person to then send them back to the jurisdiction where the wrong was committed. So multiple answers there. Let's see. Adelson recap. A lady, Wendy Adelson, is married to Don Markle, both lawyers. Wendy wants to move out to where her mom and dad live on the other side of Florida. So the entire Addison clan makes a plot to part 2. Michael Lemon, good evening. You're kind of cute. Thanks, but I'm not sure I quite swing your way. He says, "Oh, you don't give legal advice." Sorry. Yeah, it's even if you were asking a question, a very specific question about a legal issue in a jurisdiction in which I'm licensed to practice, under the rules of ethics, you would have to have a signed letter of representation with me, meaning we have both agreed that I will represent you in this legal matter, and the fee would have to be identified up front, whether it was hourly, prepay, flat fee, whatever. So I can talk in generalities, but on this channel, I don't give legal advice. And even if I could, I wouldn't, because if I give you that legal advice in a public forum, you lose the attorney-client privilege. So, Earl Skagel, thanks. I'll look into it. I wish you the best. You want to kiss? You kind of want to kiss my ear on the lips. I'm not sure that ears have lips, but I can tell you whose lips I did kiss last night, and it was your mom's ear band. Let's see. Thank you. You're very welcome. Let's see. My neighbor keeps defecating in Walmart bags and throwing them on my fence. What should I do? I just throw them back over. Wendy's mom, life without parole, caught her at the airport. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What happens if a judge gets appealed a lot? Like they're either incompetent or prejudiced or something? Not necessarily. Judges are human and they have to make real-time split-second decisions. Is that hearsay? Is that not hearsay? Is that objection valid and it needs to be sustained? Is the objection invalid and needs to be overruled? Is this evidence more prejudicial than probative? Is this proper or improper impeachment? Should this or should this not be in the jury instruction? All of those are real-time decisions that lawyers are doing their best to get right, and sometimes they get it wrong. But the only way they know they got it wrong is if a higher court tells them they got it wrong. And so if you feel, if as an attorney or a party to a lawsuit, I feel like the judge made enough errors that were significant enough to affect the outcome of the trial, I'm going to ask a higher court to look at that and determine, did the judge make errors? If yes, were those errors sufficient to affect the outcome of the case? Yes. Is the outcome of the case so affected that it needs to be retried? And you have to sort of satisfy all of those. So just about, I mean, if a judge doesn't get taken up on appeal, then they certainly aren't working very hard because, or they just the luckiest judge in history. Judges get appealed all the time. On the average, most appeals fail. I don't know the exact data. The American Bar Association probably has it. But on the average, most appeals fail. But you don't know if you legitimately think the judge got it wrong, have the appellate court look at it. In every court in this country, every trial level court or court of original jurisdiction in this country, there is an appellate level above them. In Oklahoma district courts, we have the Oklahoma Court of Civil Appeals for civil matters, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals. In the federal system, you have the federal district court, and then you appeal that to the federal court of appeals that oversees that district. Okay. And so just because a judge's appeal doesn't mean anything was wrong. It just means that one of the parties thinks the judge may have gotten something wrong and wants a higher authority, a court of greater jurisdiction or an appellate court to review the trial court and determine, when I say trial court, I mean the judge, review the trial court and determine if errors were made. C Breezy says, say Breezy, Breezy. I'm a paralegal. Respect. Thank you. Let's see. The real feminists were in the 19th century when they were struggling for equal rights. So to vote, salary, education, etc. Nowadays, we have a bunch of hysterical kidults who can't figure out their intents. No, I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm sorry. I have to fundamentally disagree with that. But you approached it in a respectful way, so you don't get kicked out tonight. Lee Does History, YouTube. What is up with these? Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. How can I win a case if I got into a fight with a person because he was spreading rumors about me? Well, one, we don't, in the modern era of a developed judicial system, like the one we live in here in the United States and most of the rest of the developed world, we don't solve issues with our hands. If somebody was spreading rumors and those rumors were incorrect, they said something about you that was not true, you can sue them for defamation, which is the uttering of a false statement about another to a third person that the third person reasonably relies thereon. But if you decide to solve it by putting hands on someone, even if they hit you first, if you engage in mutual combat, they hit you and you didn't walk away, or you put your hands on them first and initiated it, you've lost your right to sue that person civilly. I mean, you still can, but you're not going to win. No jury is going to find in your favor. Right? If you engage in martial law, or not martial law, if you engage in vigilante justice to seek immediate retribution, you give up your right for the delayed satisfaction of a money judgment at trial. To escape a non-extradition country, which she planned for on a jail. Oh, Wendy is next in line to be arrested. At the statement readings, both mom and dad tried to read the riot. Yeah. Let's see. No, I mean, let's say a judge keeps getting appealed, but it's obvious the judge is just a bad judge. Well, that's a fair question. Prefers awkward. I like that question. In federal court, judges, unless they're a magistrate, which is what we call a section or an Article 3 judge. An Article 3 judge. Full federal district court judges are life tenure, so they can only be removed from office if they die. if they resign, or if they are impeached by the House of Representatives and convicted by the Senate sitting as an impeachment court. Now, that has happened. We've never impeached and convicted. We have impeached 2 presidents. I can't remember how the Biden thing shook out. 2 presidents. No presidents have been convicted or removed from office. An impeachment is simply like an indictment. It's a bill laying facts of wrongdoing, facts of alleged wrongdoing. So we would like the charging document or the indictment, a true bill indictment or something like that. So anyway, so in that case, they're just sort of stuck there. The judge has life tenure. So unless Congress wants to get involved and throw the judge out of office, they're there forever. If it's like most states, most state court judges are appointed. Now, not maybe the Supreme Court they're elected. Maybe not Supreme Court justices. Each state does it differently. But the trial level courts, which are where these appeals are coming from, occasionally something will come from an intermediate appellate court, but the vast majority of appeals are coming from the trial courts. And so in most states, the trial court judges are elected. So in Oklahoma, we elect our district and associate district judges. And if you as a voter believe that judge to be incompetent, then one, you either need to run against them if you're qualified, or recruit someone, have a friend or a family member who's a lawyer and wants to run against them. And then you have to go and get them beat at an election. So you have to campaign against them. Like it's an elected position, just like the mayor of your town or the alderman board or whoever. That person has to be defeated in an election. Now, there are ways, if they are demonstrating criminal conduct or violating judicial canons or codes, it's a different issue. But generally speaking, if it's just incompetence that doesn't rise to the level of being like the Court of Judicial Complaints or the equivalent agency in your state, if the conduct doesn't rise to the level that they would get involved, you just have to beat them at the ballot box. Sorry. Let's see. The jury's a bunch of liars. What a circus! The lawyer lady's nails. A friend of mine watched that case. I haven't though. I have text messages. My landlord told me that he takes care of the outside stuff and I'm responsible for the inside stuff like repairs. Could I use those text messages against him in court? Maybe. But if you have a written lease agreement, like a piece of paper, I agree to pay so many dollars per month and you agree to let me live here. And if those in that contract doesn't say anything about this series of text messages, then the series of text messages would probably be considered what we call parole. Parol, no E, parole, or some lawyers would pronounce it peril evidence, which means extra contractual evidence. And in most jurisdictions, that's not allowed. But again, that's not legal advice. I don't know where you live. I don't know what the law of your state is. So consult. And most states have like a free legal advice clinic or something that does landlord tenant law. So I encourage you find a local law school or a local nonprofit legal clinic. I'd start with them. They often offer offer representational legal advice for free or very reduced cost. So I would encourage you to contact them. It's a good question, though. What do you think of the Nick Reiner case? Is guilty by reason of insanity viable with the history of drug use? Yeah, it can be, especially if the drug use caused someone to become incompetent, or they already had an underlying mental health or other disability that they've been self-medicated with drug use. So we'll see. Now, if at the time of the act was committed, it's being alleged that the act was committed while this person was under the influence, then there's a couple of different options there as well. Voluntary versus involuntary intoxication can either reduce, in the case of voluntary, can reduce the level of criminal culpability. And in the case of involuntary, can actually relieve all criminal culpability in certain circumstances. Wendy's in line to be arrested next. Okay. From 6 LaRue, are there any current cases? Sorry, I'm dating myself back in time a little bit here. Yeah, I'm like almost 10 minutes behind. I got to read faster. Are there any current cases that you feel are wrong? We decided. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Ask that question again, but in a different way, because if a case has already been decided, it's not a current case. So give me some examples, just so I understand sort of the time window. Even if it's a case that I think was or wasn't rightly or wrongly decided, doesn't matter. Just give me some cases that maybe I've heard of to give me a time frame, so I know what you mean by current. Hello, Zach and chat. Good evening, Michelle. I see no feminists willing to travel to Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan to fight for women there. Then you haven't looked very hard. There are multiple, both national and international relief organizations that actively have boots on the ground in both Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan to fight for women's rights. Absolutely. There are multiple, probably several hundred active people or people active in either one of those countries advocating for and helping assist women advance their rights. So, yeah, it's not widely talked about, but I do know for certain there are multiple organizations, NGOs called non-governmental organizations. NGOs have boots on the ground trying to further those exact agendas right now in both of those countries. Like in the Safeway parking lot in front of a little girl breaking up fights between stupid people since 1975. That's someone. That's funny. Question: if someone throws something at you and hits you, is this assault? No, that would be the civil tort of bad. Now, let me phrase it this way. I don't know if it's criminal assault because I don't know under which state's criminal code you're giving a hypothetical. However, it would absolutely satisfy the civil tort of battery. The civil tort of battery is defined as the harmful or offensive unconsented touching of another. So it has to be harmful or offensive. So assuming the thing that hit you either injured you or you found it offensive to be struck by that object, and it can be any object. It doesn't have to be an inherently offensive object. You just maybe don't want to be hit with anything, and anything that hits you would be an offensive contact. Not an unreasonable position to take, I might add. So what those at you and hit you is that assault. It is not the civil tort of assault. It is probably, most likely, the civil tort of battery. It might constitute criminal assault, but it would depend on how the criminal code reads in your jurisdiction. Gabriel Zimmern, no offense, but your judicial system is total crap since you put your life in the hands of a jury who's got absolutely no idea about the law. Actually, that's where you're wrong. They do have a great idea about the law. That's the judge's primary role, is to instruct the jury as to the law. And the jury instructions are really, really simple. They are written by lawyers, but they are not written for lawyers. They are written for the average juror, which in state court is an average education of educational level of eighth grade, functioning education level of eighth grade. In federal court, it's about 2 years of college, so the equivalent of 14th grade. So in state courts, the average juror has functions at an eighth grade level of education, and this is nationwide, not just in Oklahoma. And the average federal court juror has the experience of high school graduation plus 2 years of college. That's on the average. So the judge actually tells them what the law is. The issue before you is, here's the things you have to decide. And if it's, say, battery is defined as the harmful or unconsented touching of another. An act is considered harmful if, and then they define harmful. An act is a contact is considered offensive if, and they define the word offensive. And then so the judge actually tells the jury what the law is, and then they get a packet of jury instructions defining and explaining all these things they take back to the jury room and can use and should use when they deliberate. So it's not just a random group of people. First off, we screen them through jury selection. We don't just take the first 12 that walk in the door. They have to be screened and passed for cause. So that's sort of step one. And then the judge will then tell them what the law is and give them a copy of that law. Each person gets a copy in most places, not just one copy for the group, but each person gets their own copy, and they get to take that back to the deliberation room. And that is the law of the case. That is the law that they will use to apply to the facts to determine an outcome. So it's actually a fair bit more complicated than the way you've synopsized it. And for that reason, I have to object to your explanation of our legal system. Let's see. Thoughts on the Jewish population in the state of Israel? Well, the Jewish are a population, and there is a state of Israel. I mean, I'm not sure. That's an awfully open-ended question, so I don't really know which direction to go down. Go down the hall with you there. Do you support the practice of capital punishment? No, I don't. Do you believe that the penitentiary system works as it should? No, I don't. Which is more human? And I think what you mean is more humane, in your opinion, life sentence or death penalty. I don't think it has anything to do with. Well, I guess inherently it does have some stuff to do with the humaneness of it all and the humanity of it all. But more humane is absolutely a life sentence. I mean, inherently, if I don't support capital punishment, then I inherently have to believe that life in prison is more humane. But I don't even look at it from the humaneness or the humanity aspect most of the time. I look at it from a different aspect. Jack Black, is that not you? Not hardly. Jack Black really locked in and lost weight. Well, I appreciate those kind words. How the F can a person without any formal law training whatsoever elect a judge? Well, but arguably, how can any person without any formal constitutional or lawmaking training elect a congressman based on your theory? Or how can a person, if you are a person of faith, and even if you're not, if someone attends a church where the local church members vote to hire or fire their pastor, I didn't go to seminary. Am I qualified to determine if that person preaching to me in front of me is qualified or not? I mean, there's a major logical fallacy with your argument there, Chief. I watch a lot of trials with Emily D. Baker, and she will often point out that the judge made the ruling to protect the appeal. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I love Emily D. Baker. I have a ton of respect for her. I would love to partner with her on something, but I am so low on the YouTube creator space totem pole. She doesn't even know that I exist. But I would love to collab with her, even talk with her, even off the record, not just to get on her channel, but just talk with her, lawyer to lawyer. She has great experience as a prosecutor. And so I've never seen anything. There's some things I disagree with her on from the legal perspective, but from the practical perspective, her takes are really, really good. Let's see. No one can prove any God. Well, I know people that would disagree with you, but that's also the whole idea of faith. Let's see. You saw me destroying 7-Eleven toilets. No, what I destroyed last night was your mom, your band. Let's see. Any current case law that originates from wrongly adjudicated cases? Oh, I'm sure there probably is. I'd have to look into it, though. I'd have to look into it. I don't know for sure. Thank you, Zach. I'm in Michigan. Oh, it is much colder in Michigan. Hello, Michelle from Michigan. Stay warm out there. Is there some reason I haven't been called for jury duty in 40 years? I think you're just lucky, or you, for whatever reason, don't have the required credentials. And what I mean by that is this: vary state by state. In my state, for example, state court jurors are selected from driver's license holders. So when it's time to select a jury, the chief judge will say, hey, we need the court clerk to issue 400 jury summons. And so the court clerk will then contact the Oklahoma Department of Public Safety, which is the driver's license regulating people, contact the Oklahoma Department of Public Safety and say, hey, I need you to randomly generate me 400 driver's license names on driver's licenses in Oklahoma County, in Tillman County, in Pushmataha County, in whatever county. And then those 400 people get a summons in the mail that says you have to show up for jury duty. In federal court, the jury pool. So if you hold a driver's license, then you might be called for jury duty. In federal court, the pool is narrower. The pool of prospective jurors in federal court is limited to those people who are registered to vote. So if you hold a driver's license, but you're not registered to vote, then you're never going to get summoned for federal court jury duty. If you don't have a driver's license, or you neither have a license to drive nor are you a registered voter, you're never going to be called for jury duty in Oklahoma because you don't satisfy either selection criteria. Let's see. Would they have drawn blood on Nick Reiner to look for drugs? Possibly. They may have done a blood draw. They may have done a UA, but they also will likely do a follicle test, a hair follicle test, because you can test negative for both blood and urine, but still have indications of metabolites on your hair follicles or in your hair. So they'll often do a follicle test as well. Jurors will ask for clarifications of law if they're unsure. That's true. Sorry for the errant comments. I look through it. Ask what state you're in. Sure, of course. I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah, absolutely. Am I at the Diddy party? No, I'm so sorry. I didn't make it to the Diddy party. I was too busy with your mom last night, your band. Can you think of any jury nullification cases? Oh, wow. Let's see. Nothing formal, nothing that's openly nullified, because jury nullification is one, you're not even allowed to talk about it, hint about it, anything. Secondly, if a juror makes a comment that they, felt, yeah, they did it, but we decided to nullify it, then that would be grounds for retrial. Arguably, maybe the O.J. Simpson case would be nullification. But again, there's so many moving parts and pieces. I can't say that with any confidence. That's probably the first one that comes to mind, but we'll see. Had no idea. Go look at my state. Yeah, go check your states. Find out if you might end up on jury duty. Big snow coming here in northern Michigan. Glad to see you come back to YouTube. Well, I'm glad to see you, Michelle. I'm not sure if you were here before, but in any event, I'm glad you're here. So thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Got a Red Wings fan. A lot of slimy moms. Yes. Unfortunately, knowing some of these commenters, they probably all share the same mother. I go back and forth, especially considering I don't have any mods with me tonight. Should I ignore it and then it just sits in the chat forever? I certainly don't want to engage with the conduct, because then we go down the rabbit hole and the wheels come off and I lose control of the stream. And so, one of the quickest ways is to address their comment and let them know it's not okay, and then boot them from the chat. So here we go. Michelle was here before. Well, Michelle, welcome back. I'm glad you rode out life with me, as we say. So appreciate you being here, and stay warm. It's gonna be cold up there. Ugh. I'm ready for it to be cold here, but not like stupid cold, not like Michigan cold. Like, I want to wear a jacket. It was 87 degrees today. That's stupid. It should not be 87. It should be like 40. I don't want to sweat in my own house in December. Ian Renner, 4238. Hi, good evening, Ian. Thanks for checking in with us. I'm going to wrap up here in a few minutes. If you guys have any questions, ask them. Otherwise, we're going to get her shut down. For those just tuning in or who jumped in after the announcement, we've got a couple of cool things coming up. I have I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. And if you're on replay, make sure you throw it in the chat or in the comments. If you're live, make sure you throw it in the chat so I can see it. I've got we'll get to that part in a minute. Somebody had asked a while back, what's the first Lego build we're going to do? First Lego build we're going to do is the Disney Pixar lamp. Luxor Jr., I think, is the name. It's part of both the Disney collection and the Idea collection by Lego. So it's the first build we're going to do. If you guys have a particular build you want me to do, let me know. Certainly, if there's a build that you really want me to do, send it to me. Order it. You can order off Amazon, have it shipped straight to me. Buy the Lego store. I'll give you an address to send back. To send it to me, I'll send you a P.O. box or whatever. You guys can send it to me that way as well. So, and then somebody also asked, let me pull this picture back up. Somebody also asked, so I told somebody that although it is primarily Lego we do here, we do some other things. And so I also love doing this sort of thing. Okay, this happens to be it's 3D wood. So it comes in a flat package about the size of a drink coaster. This would be a little bigger, but roughly the size of a drink coaster, maybe a little bigger. And you put it together. And this one is really cool because it is, first off, you can see the detail on it. And like, you can see that like, this is a piece, that's a piece. Like if we zoom in, that's a piece, that's a piece. This is one long piece. These pieces join here. You can see where the steps actually insert into the rails. Right, and you can see like it's not perfect. Like this leg doesn't sit quite flush to the ground. So anyway, I'm also super into that kind of stuff. So if you guys see anything like that you're interested in, and for those who were asking earlier, I'll update the Amazon cart or the Amazon list rather that's linked on the channel page. the bio page of the channel. So, and guys, I don't expect you guys to purchase anything. If you want to, I'm happy to do it. It's part of what I do. And then of course we've got Patreon. I now have memberships on the channel. There's also a merch store. So, you'll hear me say, be kind to someone, or be kind to someone, sort of what we do. It's our mantra around here. So, yeah. And then you see, Bar mentioned back behind me, eventually we'll put a floating shelf, because I'm a big time Lego person. I've been doing Lego for more than 30 years, and now my children do them with me. And as we speak, I actually have Lego sitting here in front of me on my counter. So, make sure Mom Magical. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I'm also going to do an unboxing video. I finally was able to overhaul and replace a bunch of tools in my toolbox. So if that's something you guys are into and you want me to do that live, I'll do it live. Otherwise, I'll probably just record it and throw it up as a video, give you guys something to watch in the meantime. Let's go back and check the chat real quick. There's been some stuff trickling in. I don't want to miss anybody. Let's see. Can't think of a better name. Says, nah, keep doing the your mom and your band I'm loving. Oh, thank you. And I don't actually have any of those written down. They just sort of pop up here. When people irritate me, the first thing that comes into my head are mom insults. It's a character flaw. I wish I didn't, but I do. Let's see. Barb says, now I'll fix and get my moderator badge. Yeah, Barb, you're next in line for a moderator badge. You want us to come over and help you put up the floating lamp? The blimp is crazy. Let's see. I've done a couple of the wooden puzzles. It's true. Can you wish a happy birthday? Can you wish my friend a happy birthday? His name is Gabe. Owner scan. You wish my friend a happy birthday. Yeah, happy birthday, Gabe. Unfortunately, if you have to keep asking, I won't say it anymore. Make sure Mom has her school. I will. Thanks. Prefers awkward. So jury nullification is just the name for the concept. You basically vote not guilty in spite of extreme convincing evidence. No, it's a little more nuanced than that. You kind of have the idea right. Jury nullification is when you believe the state proved their case. You believe, based on the evidence and the testimony and the law of the case, that the defendant is guilty. But for whatever reason, you vote not guilty. Did he do it? Absolutely, he did. You have evidence by any measure. He did it. He testified in his own defense. Did you do the bad thing? I did the bad thing. Here's a video of me doing the bad thing. Here's 5 people witnessing me do the bad thing. Here's me taking a selfie doing the bad thing. I absolutely did the bad thing, and I will do it again tomorrow, and I would do it again if I had the choice. I would do it again. I absolutely did the bad thing. Please convict me. Please send me to prison. I don't want to be on the free world. I want to go to prison. I don't want to be here. Please convict me. I did the bad thing. For whatever reason, the jury decides, yes, he did it, but we're going to vote no anyway. That's jury nullification, where the jury nullifies a valid verdict for an invalid verdict. But the problem is it's next to impossible to prove. Some states have eliminated qualified immunity for police. Do you think others will? Is it a good idea? Interesting. Interesting question. Do you think others will? I don't know. I don't know if they will. I don't know what the trend is, and I don't know which states had it before, who've gotten rid of it, and whatever. Is it a good idea? I don't know. And I'm not trying to play off. I just don't have enough background. I'm primarily civil, so lawsuits. I don't do much criminal. I've got some friends who are very, very good at it. It's just nothing I've ever done. I don't have an objection to it. It's just not, that avenue never opened its doors for me. I wanted to try civil law. I started doing workers' comp. I wanted to try civil law. And then as I got further into that world, additional doors opened, but they were deeper into the civil law world and never on the criminal side. Is it a good idea? It's a double-edged sword. There are times in which, yeah, police officers need that immunity waived so that they can be further prosecuted. But we also, the problem is the bad few give a poor name to the good many. And we don't want police officers who are good officers, who are trying to exercise their law enforcement judgment. They're trying to make the right decision. They're trying to be good police officers. They're trying to do the right thing. They have no ill intent. We don't want them questioning their decisions in real time. Like, should I do the thing or am I going to get sued? Should I do the thing or will I be prosecuted? We want them to act in a policeman or a policewoman-like manner at the time. And if we get rid of qualified immunity, does it change their analysis? And the problem is we don't want them hesitating when it comes time to decide, should I draw a weapon or not? That's an impossible decision, because if you get it right and you were in fact at risk, you've still harmed or taken the life of another. If you're wrong and you don't draw when you should, now you become injured or deceased, and now your family is the one suffering. Right? And if you are wrong when you pull and discharge, right? Like, that's a lot to process that quick. So I don't know what the answer is. It's a great question. I just don't know what the answer is. So idea for a sticker of your mom. That's funny. I like the mechanical puzzles. You move one piece and they fall apart, and then you can't leave it apart. Then I can't leave it apart. I will. Yeah, 100%. I know what you're talking about. I've done a few of those. They don't make them close to, like, there's not a lot of retailers in my area that carry that kind of stuff. When I do see them, I try to pick one up and work on it, though. Yeah. How do you feel about ICE? Are they being lawful? It's a really broad question. Well, we know conclusively that not all ICE officials are acting lawfully, because there are court orders and verdicts and judgments that say they're not. I think the average run-of-the-mill employee of the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Division of the Department of Homeland Security, I think the average Joe go-to-work 9-to-5 lunch pail employee is probably a good person. I think there are some bad actors. I think they are the exception, not the rule. But at the end of the day, when they raise their right hand to take an oath, one part of that oath, whether expressed or implied, is that they will follow the orders of their superior officer. It's a paramilitary organization, just like the police, just like the fire department, just like whatever. So even if they disagree with the order, they have to follow the order, or they put their employment on the line. So yeah, there are some bad actors. I think on the whole, most of the actors are good, but I think most of the good actors are not the ones you see on the news. Unfortunately, we don't tend to highlight the good parts. We only identify the bad parts. And that's why most local news stations, your local ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox affiliate, when they do the evening news, the 5 or the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news, they try to have a short segment in there about, like, here's something good happening in your community. One of the local news stations in Oklahoma City has the Pay It Forward campaign, right? The news station will go out and recognize a doer of good. Here's somebody who did a good deed. Here's somebody who did something good. Okay. And that person gets money, and that person, and they pay it forward, right? And then that person will then nominate someone else in their community who's doing something good, and you sort of see the snowball effect. Those bits of news segments are super important as well. Let's see. Hi, I'm it. Hi, I'm Ito. 9657 yellow. Well, in that case, purple, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're going for there. So I'm not necessarily sure how to respond to it, unfortunately. You guys have any more questions? If not, we'll wrap it up. Still got a decent number, a few viewers still hanging in there with us. You guys have any other questions, ask them. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Hit the bell notification so you're notified every time I have a new video, either live or whatever. Let's see, Moon_Fierce Paws. First off, I like your profile picture, pepperoni pizza. Man, can't go wrong with a good pizza. Let's see. He says, or she, I don't know if it's he or she. Where do I find the laws? Lots of different places. You can start with the legal encyclopedias, or you can start with the treatises and legal thesauri. In theory, you could just open a casebook and just jump into it, but you'd be missing a lot of context. So sort of, lots of places. I don't recommend Reddit. I don't recommend Wikipedia. Cornell Law's got a pretty good site. SCOTUS blog does a really good job of breaking down the issues before the Supreme Court and what the actual opinions of the Supreme Court mean. So lots of variety of places where one could find the law. So good question. But unfortunately, I have yellow, or I see bellow, no, and unfortunately that kind of stuff just takes up space. I tried to take up space in your mom last night. Whew, missed the mark there. You're banned. Let's see. Raju Ramjali Benny. Hello. What's your favorite legally accurate movie that's not strictly about the law itself? For example, My Cousin Vinny. My Cousin Vinny is super accurate, actually. And I think a follow post said, yeah, I heard that one's legally accurate from Prefers Awkward. Yeah, it is. That one's extremely awkward. Procedurally, it's very good. From a trial technique perspective, it's very good. I'm trying to think of another one that's pretty good. There's a movie called Philadelphia. I hadn't seen it till recently, called Philadelphia, with a young Tom Hanks from the early 90s. Young Tom Hanks, young Denzel Washington, tells the story of a lawyer in Philly who gets HIV, becomes HIV positive and ends up getting AIDS. He gets fired from his firm, and they claim it's for performance issues. Turns out it's not. Turns out he was a very good lawyer, but they were scared of HIV/AIDS, which, not defending them, very common in that era. And he finally finds a lawyer who will take his case. And it's not necessarily based on a true story, but it is very accurate as far as the legal procedure is very good. And the trial and the issues that the lawyer says, well, I can take your case, but I don't know we're going to win. And, can we convince a jury and all these kinds of things. So that one's also it's called Philadelphia. It's from the early 90s. It's got a young Denzel Washington, young Tom Hanks. So go check that one out. Let's see. Is Back to the Future accurate? I don't know. I've never been Back to the Future, so I'm not sure. I've tried. I can't find a DeLorean at a price point I can afford. It's not that I'm opposed to going Back to the Future. I just haven't found a DeLorean at a price point I can afford, because I know I'm gonna have to retrofit it. They don't all come with the extra dock equipment. They don't have the flux capacitor and stuff, so I know I'm gonna have to install it. So I've got to find one priced at a point where I can also have some money left over to get it fixed up. But I'm willing to go check it out for sure. What about Injustice for All? I don't know that I've seen that, to be honest. Adore that movie, says Barb. Me too, says Michelle. Your Honor, everything he said is BS. That's funny. That's true. Also, the one where Harrison Ford gets shot in the head and has to learn to lawyer again. I'm not familiar with that one, I guess. I'm actually, I don't, sort of a hot take, I guess. I'm not a huge movie buff. I'm not opposed to them. I'm just not a huge movie buff. So I'm trying to broaden my movie experiences, at least to make sure I've covered all the famous legal movies. It's kind of like doctors who haven't seen doctor movies. You must see it. Yeah, I'll try. I'll add it to my list. So, any more questions before we wrap it up? We've been going a long time, and I got to get up early tomorrow. Out of order. You're out of order. I will say that the classroom scene at Harvard by, what's that movie? Oh, Reese Witherspoon, Pink, got the dog. Anyway, somebody help me out. Where she gets into, she's a ditz, but gets into Harvard Law. Anyway, the scene, that one, and there's what's the one with Joe Pesci where he's the law student and he gets kicked out? Legally Blonde. Thank you. There's also one with Joe Pesci. The law school experience is legitimate, and Legally Blonde, the law school experience is legitimate. It's called the Socratic method, and that's how they learn. That's how most. There's probably a few. I had like one professor who wasn't a big Socratic method guy, but Socratic method is still the primary learning method in law schools. So the law school scene is, or the law school scenes is really, really good. The Lincoln Lawyer, the movie with Matthew McConaughey, one of my favorite movies, very unrealistic. Nothing goes to court that fast. You don't just get surprise witnesses dropped on your desk. There are clients who are bad dudes who show up and threaten you. There are lots of, organized crime, biker gangs, and that's where, street gangs and whatever that cash pay, like that's super common. So part of that is accurate. You don't tend to see a lot of former prosecutors or a lot of prosecutors being ex-wives of famous criminal defense attorneys, although it does happen. It's not unheard of. It's just not, the love story doesn't exist much in real life. So let's see. But yeah, there's is Regarding Henry the name of the movie with Joe Pesci? Is that what you're telling me, Barb? You know what I'm talking about, where he gets kicked out of his constitutional law class. But yeah, that scene, those series of scenes, and then what's the one? Is it Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? No, The Paper Chase. The Paper Chase. That one actually, it does, not only is it accurate about Harvard, some of the professors that are depicted in that movie were real people in the era in which it's designed to represent. Like Carl Llewellyn taught at Harvard and is like the father of neoclassical contract law. Carl Llewellyn, and who's the other guy? I forget the other guy. Thanks for letting you hang with us tonight. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Professor Awkward, I love your legal analysis and takes on things. If you do more takes on famous cases or maybe films I need to write up, I'm working on a list of things, that is a list of cases I want to cover. It actually dates back to when the channel was live last time. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It requires an enormous amount of work on my end to get ready for those, and I have a hard time in the season of life finding that time with young kids. Regarding Henry Harrison Ford, okay. But we'll see. But yeah, I'd like to do that. There's also some really good nonfiction, like Gideon's Trumpet is the story of Gideon versus Wainwright. And then there is, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the true story of that led up to Brown versus Topeka Board of Education. If you just look at Brown versus Topeka Board of Education, it's a landmark case. But if they only take Brown versus Board to the Supreme Court, they lose. The tacticians in that case were masterful, and specifically the lead trial attorney and appellate attorney was masterful because he didn't take one big bite of the elephant. He ate around the edges. Like, they desegregated buses. They desegregated public transportation and trains, federally regulated train systems. They desegregated public colleges and universities. They desegregated this. They desegregated that. They desegregated public service and public employment. And then suddenly you look and the only thing left is segregated free public education. And then Brown versus Topeka Board of Education comes down that says separate is inherently not equal. And if you read the whole story of how Chief Justice Earl Warren, who wrote that opinion, he generated a unanimous opinion. There was no division. He recognized if this is not a 9-0 opinion, it will give the separatists and the racists ammunition to continue to justify their wrongful acts. We need a uniform court. And back then, it was all white men. There was not a female on the court until the 90s with Justice O'Connor, late 80s, early 90s, George Herbert Walker, George H.W. Bush, 88 to 92. The second was then Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg with Clinton in 95. And then there was not a person of color until the 80s, maybe 70s, 80s, whenever he took the bench, I forget. So back then it was all white men. So he had to convince 8 of his white male colleagues to sign on to this opinion, because if it was anything other than, and then they didn't release this. I talked about this the other night on a video. They didn't release a slip opinion. I think it did. They didn't release a slip opinion, which is the draft or the final opinions. When they come out to read the opinion, they give a copy of it to the media. They didn't release any slip opinions. There was one opinion. It was locked up. And Chief Justice Warren came out to read the opinion, and he added one word to the last sentence of the opinion. He hand wrote it in the margins of his copy that he was reading from, and it said, "We therefore unanimously hold. All 9 of us agree that separate is inherently not equal." Like really, really smart people. I'm a pretty bright guy. I'm about 1% smarter than the average bear. Not some me bragging. I have empirical data to support that. I'm a pretty bright guy. The foresight of Chief Justice Warren, like I can't. I mean, he was on the same court as Justice Felix Frankfurter, one of the coolest names ever. Felix Frankfurter was a Supreme Court justice also, and he got a handshake from Justice Frankfurter, who was a bit of an antagonist. He was a bit of a contrarian. But he earned Justice Frankfurter. Not that he didn't really care if he earned his colleagues' respect. He just needed them to agree with the opinion. But just a really cool story. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a series like that where we do some in-depth history on that. We'll see. Let's see. I don't know what Shoreline Janitor Gaming is. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I'm in tech. I have to let accuracy go for a lot of movies I really enjoy. I pretend they live in a universe where things work like that. Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like in physics when I teach physics, study physics. And one of the early assumptions you make before you start getting into advanced concepts is just it's the whole assume a penguin is a perfect cylinder and ignore friction, right? Ignore friction, assume a penguin is a perfect cylinder. These are weird things to do, but we just do them. Yeah. From India. Where am I from? I'm from the United States. With honors, Joe Pesci. Gotcha. What influenced you to teach rather than practice law nowadays? Good question. Practicing law was an incredible income, but I had no emotional satisfaction from any of my cases. So, good night. Thanks so much. I subscribed and pressed the notification. Well, I appreciate that. Dustin, if you're still here, groovy brother, have a good night. You look poor. Well, the poor one last night was your mother, the way she looked when I was done with your band. Let's see. You, my friend, are fearfully and wonderfully made. Well, I appreciate those kind words. Let's see. Okay. Well, we spent a whole lot of time typing that, didn't we? Let's see. You look cute. Well, I appreciate it, but I'm not your type. I don't need to know your type because my type is my wife, and you're not my wife. Therefore, you're definitely not my type. Zach Galifianakis Esquire. Yeah, I get that. Before I was old and fat, I looked like a different famous person. People say, "Why do you have a beard?" I say, because I'm lazy, and growing a beard is what happens when you do nothing. It's easier to do nothing than something, and when you do nothing, that's what you get. So there you go. Let's see. I'm still surprised this stream's still going on. Yeah, me too. But that's okay. As long as you guys are here, I'm here. So, Michelle Kelly, I appreciate those kind words. You guys, anything else? If not, we'll shut her down here in a minute. But if you still have questions or things you want me to cover, we'll get it covered. Because I'll probably be out of pocket. If I do a stream in the next couple of days, it'll be another late stream like this. Let's see. Mike who cheese Harry. I don't know what that means. Are you having a stroke? Hello, Mr. Hello, I guess. You don't have to call me Mr. My name's right there. I'm an undercover cop from Nigeria. Well, you've given yourself away, but the only person undercover last night was your mother under the covers with me, your band. Yeah, let's see. The vertical streams tend to breed more bannable commenters. They do. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. If you have to present in court, do you do a little beard trim, or are they chill with anything as long as you dress respectfully? There's really nothing like the dress code is in most courtrooms, including federal courts. There's an exception in Tulsa County during what they call the summer dress code, but most courtroom dress codes for men is jacket and tie. Doesn't have to be a suit, jacket and tie. And for ladies, female equivalent, whether it's a dress or a skirt suit or a pantsuit or it's business professional. Okay. I've seen guys walk in with long beards. If I'm in court, if I'm in front of a jury, my hair is always done. My beard is all, I don't try jury cases with beards. There's still a whole group of old school folks out there that think, only construction workers and homeless people have beards, which is nonsense. But there's still those folks out there, and I might catch one on my jury. So I always have my hair done, and I always get a haircut right before, if the Friday or Saturday of before trial Monday. Like I'll have a 1 or 2 day old haircut on Monday. My hair is always done. My outfits are put together. I don't just randomly pull things out of the closet. I have things that go together in certain patterns and certain ways. Like I know how all that goes. But if I'm just going to court for a hearing, I'll put on a jacket and tie and go like this. I'll have on, dress pants and either my good clean cowboy boots, or most of the time just, black or brown dress shoes, and jacket and tie, and go present my case and move on. Yeah. So if it's just a hearing or something, if it's not a full blown jury trial, yeah, I'll go like this. I mean, I'll be in dress code, but I'll be like, I'll also have the beard and the long hair. Chris P. Bacon, LOL, MFer, don't got a cut. Note of fit. Okay. MFer, don't got a cut or a fit. I get the feeling you were homeschooled. And the reason I say that is because you've got really bad grammar. And the reason I think you were homeschooled and have really bad grammar is because your mother had her mouth full when she should have been teaching English to your band. I got to be a little quicker than that. That one took a long time to set up. I'm glad somebody's getting a laugh out of these. Yeah, I got to be a little, that one was sort of back there stewing around. I had an opportunity to use it, but I hadn't had it fleshed all the way out in the back of my head yet. So it is what it is. We've been going about an hour 40, and it is approaching midnight my time. We're approaching 23:30 local time, so we're going to shut her down. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out, even those that got banned. You guys, that quick-wittedness, that instant replay, and instant reflex part of the brain, that's a trial skill. Being able to take witnesses on really, really quickly and that sort of thing, and not having a lot of time, being able to come up with stuff off the top of your head. I appreciate that kind of stuff because it challenges me and helps me be better at that. So I do appreciate it. Let's see. Jack Black, not hardly. I wish. If I was Jack Black, you think I'd have to be on YouTube? If someone gets a public defender, are they able to fire them and get a new one? Sometimes. They would have to convince the judge. Yeah. So a lawyer represents a client at will, and a client is represented by that lawyer at will. So if that relationship deteriorates, then the defendant can ask for a new lawyer, but they would have to convince the judge that there was a compelling reason. But yes, yeah, for sure. Let's see. Good question, though. Love the comebacks to the trolls. God bless you, sir. Thank you, and you as well. But it was complete, says Barb. Yeah, I got to be a little quicker on the draw, but yeah, I felt like it was good. You heard the ums and the uhs as I was trying to put the back end of the story together on the fly, but we got there. Do you have to be Jewish to be a successful lawyer? No, because I am, by most measures, a successful lawyer, and I am not Jewish. But unfortunately, we don't stereotype on this channel, so you're gonna have to find somewhere else to go. Let's see. Comeback's great. Thank you. There was that one lady who had like 8 or 9 lawyers, but she eventually got dunked on. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's see. Young rewinds. You do have to be Jewish, or you do need to be Jewish. You do need to be Jewish to do what? I guess I don't understand. Again, we don't do hate speech here. Hello, bro. Give me $50, bro, please. All right. Well, a couple of things here. Sentences start with capital letters. I'm not your bro. Don't know who you are, but I know I'm not your bro because I have one sibling and it's not a bro. Give me $50. Okay. Dollar sign goes on the other side of the 50. Again, not the bro. Please. So we also have a comma splice. And we didn't end in any kind of punctuation. So lots of issues there. So I don't know that I'll give you $50, but if you can find me a good tutoring, if you can find a good resource to help you with sentence structure and spelling and grammar, I'll spend up to $50 paying for tutoring for you. I will absolutely do that. See that Alan Jackson's representing Reiner's kid. I think Art and Courts told me that on the last stream. I think I did know that, but I don't know. I did not independently know that. I think it was Art and Courts brought that to me. That or Laura Waldy, one of the two. Let's see. Vishalude 10. Europe will be Islamist soon. Please do something. One, I don't work for the State Department, so I'm not sure exactly what it is you want me to do. Two, I've seen no data to support your proposition. Three, Europe should be capitalized. Islamist should be capitalized, but also Islamist is not a state, and I don't mean like a nation state. I mean like one like you can't be in an Islamist state or a state of Islam. So you would have to say Muslim. Islam is the religion. Muslim is the practitioner. And if the state is a majority Muslim state, it would be an Islamic, not an Islamist. An Islamist is a person. Islamic is a thing. So lots of structure there. And then please is not spelled PLZ. We have a random D and then do something again. No capitalization, no periods. John, okay. I still don't understand what the 67 thing. Harjan Kapoor, C4Q. I ain't gonna troll you and call you bro. Just want to say have a good day, man. You too, brother. Be safe. Jägermer, Jai Gamer. I know I'm saying that wrong. 112. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Or sister, I'm not sure. But anyway, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Islamist is dangerous. Yeah, again, we're still not understanding the difference between Islamist, Islamic, and Muslim. So even if I wanted to engage in this conversation, until you can understand the difference between those three, we're not going to make any headway. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. This is above my IQ. Yeah, me too. When people make comments and they don't appear to know what they're talking about, then I'm going to correct their grammar because I try to answer the questions that get asked. But if it is so poorly written that I can't understand the message, what you gonna do? All right, I'll make this warning once, and then I will start banning people as fast as my little right finger over here can do it. We're not going to promote or disparage any particular religion on this channel at this point. Let's see. No. Hey, Barb, you're gonna have to email me. Your lawyer friend Zach, all one word, no H, no K. Your lawyer friend Zach, like spell on screen at gmail.com. Tell me how to unblock somebody because I banned the wrong person. The chat jumped on me. Let's see. Well, Lee does history. YouTube says so many drunk uncles today. Yeah, it's because they had to get drunk today because I was too busy taking care of their old ladies last night. God can see your check engine light, bro. You may not be wrong. My check engine light's on, so I actually need to plug in my diag tool and see what through a code. So maybe you're right. Let's see here. Hold on a second here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Quickest way to make me leave your place of business: have a misspelled sign. Yeah, I hear that. All right. Am I taking suggestions for future videos? Sure. Throw it out there. We'll look at it and see. Hate speech is subjective and open to interpretation, says Skippy. No, it's not. The Supreme Court has a black letter rule, a black letter a black letter law, bright line test for determining hate speech. So no, it's not subjective and it's not open to interpretation. There's lots of very clear black letter law on this. I'm sorry. I say sorry, not that I'm sorry there's black letter law. I'm sorry that you're wrong. I want people to be right. I want an informed, educated electorate. That's what I want. What inspired you to pursue a career in law? I'd always wanted to be a lawyer. I enjoy arguing. I enjoy disagreeing, and I think that reasonable people can reasonably disagree about reasonable things. But also, I like the intellectual challenge. I want to be around people who are smarter than me, who know more than me, because I want to learn from those around me because it makes me better. It makes me a better voter. It makes me a better lawyer. It makes me a better dad. It makes me a better husband. It makes me a better investor. It makes me a better contributor to society when I surround myself with people that are smarter than me and that know more than me. And the easiest way to do that was to go to law school because your faculty are always smarter than you, and then to practice law because I was around the best lawyers in the business, and I learned something from every one of them. Sometimes I learned good lessons. Here's things I need to do right, and sometimes just as often even, I would learn things that I don't want to do. That I don't want. That I don't like. That the jury didn't like that, and so. Trying to surround myself, and I still to this day try to surround myself with people that are smarter than me and that know more than me because it makes me better. Let's see. How far behind am I? Not bad. Mr. Zach is clavicular running over a stalker with his Cybertruck self-defense. Well, clavicular is a form of the word clavicle, which is this bone right here, which is the collarbone. So I'm not sure how one's collarbone drives a vehicle. So try asking that differently, and I might be able to answer it. Greetings from Gulf Breeze, Florida. Greetings. Love the wood puzzles, especially the flowers. Yeah, the wood. I'm a fan of the wood puzzles. Prefers awkward. If a plaintiff or defendant makes a claim about something and the judge surprisingly, the subject knows the subject surprisingly well too. So, well, hold on. If a plaintiff or defendant makes a claim about something and the judge surprisingly the subject well to know the story is BS, like a fake story by computers, I'm not. What happens in that case? You're going to have to ask that a different way. I don't follow. What's your favorite racial slur? There are no good racial slurs. They're all bad. I've never heard a racial slur that was good. So unfortunately, you have to find something else to do. What's your current temperature regarding the state of legal affairs as it relates to the current administration? Oh, that's like a 10 video series. It's mixed. It's mixed. The Supreme Court has not taken up some issues that it could, because I think that this particular Supreme Court, not the Chief Justice, I think he's done a good job of as a Chief Justice, but there are currently members of that court that are just running amok, and he doesn't have control over his court. This particular Supreme Court will go down as one of the most, in hindsight, in 50 years, this will go down as one of the worst courts ever, unfortunately. Because anytime the court is bad and the rulings are bad, the public suffers. In Australia, they give love to people, not hate. In Australia, they give love to people. That is not hate. I'm not sure what you're going for there. NYPD X2000, hello. What law have you or do you or have you practiced? Primarily civil, wills and trusts, estate plans, a little bit of elder law, not a lot, some. A lot of civil law involving car wrecks, a lot of lawsuits involving car wrecks. And then eventually, when I was doing ivory tower law, I was representing insureds, suing their insurance company for failure to pay benefits. So. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. If a judge knew a subject to know someone was BSing, like they know technology well enough, testimony is false. Sorry, Funk. Well, in that case, the judge would have to recuse themselves. If they no, well, I shouldn't say that. If a judge knows enough about technology and they think that a witness is BSing, I mean, they can, I guess, give an adverse instruction or something. But ultimately, the judge could say that this case is without merit because what you're saying isn't a thing, but they would have to receive enough testimony to justify their decision. They can't just, they could unilaterally kick it, but on appeal, they'd probably get reversed. But yeah, why don't you do that anymore? Not a lot of emotional satisfaction in it, to be frank. Folks, we've been running a long time. It's late. I'm tired. I gotta go to bed. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit the bell notification so you're notified every time we go live. If you're interested, check out the links. We got merch. All right. If you have ideas for merch, you have ideas for Legos, you have ideas for legal questions, let me know. Appreciate everybody being here. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, do me a favor. Be kind to someone. We'll talk to you soon.